I was looking for a random Korean movie to watch and I stumbled upon Psychokinesis on Netflix. I saw the little autoplay trailer and I was in. Psychokinesis is a 2018 film directed by the same guy who did Train to Busan, that Korean zombie movie that everyone raves about. Train to Busan, while having a trendy plot about zombies, is really about the struggle in society between the haves and the have-nots. This movie does the exact same thing. While on the surface it could be marketed as a superhero movie, it's really about more. I can name the Korean movies I've seen on one hand, and all of them have been about some sort of class struggle. Like in America, people in South Korea grapple with the realities of capitalism and a ruling class. Psychokinesis is about one of those conflicts. The big construction company wants to tear down these spaces to make a large shopping center, and to try and fight them, the renters hole up in their spaces. When one woman loses her mom during an overnight forced eviction, her absentee dad is notified about this. Oh, and this dad just got telekinesis from magical spring water. Also, I'm a little bit sick, so if I sound like I'm sick, please excuse my sickness. This movie is like a lower brow sci-fi version of Parasite. There's still the conflict between the rich and the not so rich, but instead of a scheme, there's telekinesis. It's a great movie filled with humor, action, and drama. Our main character, Mr. Shin, this middle-aged man, really becomes a hero. And fun fact, this goofy-ass dude, he's in like 4 out of 10 of the top-grossing Korean movies of all time. He's like the Korean version of The Rock or something, I don't know. Coming from a place where I've consumed most of the American superhero media out there, Psychokinesis is really entertaining. It has a unique perspective and a unique protagonist, so it doesn't really feel like any other Marvel or DC superhero stuff that you might be watching. While Mr. Shin has powers, the story isn't so much about that or some sort of world-ending conflict. It doesn't feel beholden to the superhero genre or the typical tropes that you'd find in American movies. There's no suit, there's no, oh wow, I gotta be a superhero moment. There's no moralizing about how to use his powers for good or for evil, or if killing is bad. He just uses his powers in a really simple and understandable way. His villains aren't unrealistic. They aren't a counterpart that also has telekinesis or an evil CEO who happens to make mech suits. They're the mob equivalent of middle management and the embodiment of the upper class. The entire conflict of the movie is actually based off a real-life event from 2009 called the Yongsan disaster. Actual people occupied a building to protest against the insufficient compensation they were going to get. Actual police officers went there, and a violent conflict ensued. There was a fire, there was a crane, 6 people died, and 20 were injured. The only difference between that event and this movie is that there was no telekinetic man to help people. It's kind of hard to keep talking about this movie without going into spoilers, so overall, as a conclusion to my spoiler-free thoughts, go watch the movie. It's dope, and it's on Netflix. And if you're into superhero stuff and or movies about class struggle, I think you'll enjoy it. Moving on. Something that I find fascinating about this movie is that despite Mr. Shin being an actual superpowered being, he is still in some part bound to this society. While other superhero movies are about heroes transcending society and upsetting the status quo, Mr. Shin doesn't do that. He starts the movie saying, "Hey guys, don't organize, you're not gonna win and it's futile." And he ends the movie being right. And he doesn't change that worldview. If this was an American movie, maybe Mr. Shin would end up becoming the icon of some sort of resistance against this company. Or maybe he'd end up getting the director lady arrested or expose some sort of great crime. Maybe he'd Black Panther it and come up with his own choice that makes the world better without any of the drawbacks. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't decide to just become a vigilante for the rest of his life without facing any of the consequences of breaking the law. Because his goal isn't escaping or rising past this class struggle. It's to reconnect to his daughter. Psychokinesis differentiates itself by being kind of bittersweet. He doesn't fly off into the sunset and become a superhero, beloved by all. He doesn't struggle with whether or not to kill his supervillains. He just does what he can, and then he turns himself in. And if you think about the choices that he was given by the main bad lady, he actually sort of picked one. He did decide to accept that he was a slave of the system. Also, don't get me wrong, this movie isn't just like really heavy on the themes and isn't fun to experience. It has a lot of heart and humor, and it's a blast to watch. Man, just look at this guy go. This version of Flight is so amazingly energetic and wild, it ranks up top with Man of Steel, Chronicle, and Hancock for the best superhero movie depictions of flight. And the music, man, the whole time he's just this goofy, unassuming dude, but when he gets serious and flies and does all that stuff, he gets this crazy, awesome guitar riff and this little horn thing going on, and it's so different than how it would be scored in America. It's not this crazy orchestral piece, and it keeps in line with this whole small town hero thing. But that's this movie in a nutshell. It's got a great balance of a lot of these elements and doesn't shy away from its goofiness. And it feels so different from American superhero movies that it just feels super fresh. But even with these brief moments of uplifting inspiration, Psychokinesis has that same kind of foreboding near the end, just like a zombie movie. You kind of feel that no matter what the main characters do, the inevitable is the inevitable. The renters lose the battle, their shops get demolished, and they're replaced by nothing. The crazy struggle that wrecked the lives of so many of these people wasn't even worth it. The villains of the movie are punished in fleeting ways. The bad guy is just punched unconscious, and the evil director lady just gets her car crushed. There's no sense that any of these people actually suffer lasting consequences, unlike Mr. Shin, who goes to jail for 4 years. Tell me what kind of Marvel movie would do that. But it's not all bad. At least now his daughter has a food truck instead, meaning that she won't be taken advantage of by construction companies. And she recognizes him as a dad now, and even named her chicken place after him. It's a bittersweet ending, one that allows the characters to get a win that will keep them happy, but not one that allows them to fix and transcend a fundamentally broken system. It treats the awful problems of this capitalistic society as this evil that will never be conquered, only temporarily delayed. It's really fascinating because it shows this pessimistic worldview. It's like the director saying, yeah, the Yongsan disaster could have been prevented by a telekinetic middle-aged man, but the causes couldn't be prevented. Not even the massive telekinetic power our hero wields can beat the evil of this capitalistic society. He's not Iron Man randomly making renewable green energy for everyone in the world. He's just a man who can't help but still feel bound by the shackles of his society. The defeatist attitude of Mr. Shin towards this struggle is partially validated, but at least he got his daughter back? Overall, watch this movie. It's hilarious and a great usage of superpowers to tell a relevant and heartwarming story. Thanks for watching. Also, we got new merch. I got this cactus thing and it's cute and you can get it on a shirt, and you can get shirts that have this cool like Stay Fleshy box on it. I think it's really cool, so you can check that out. Links in the description below. And if you want to talk to me, follow me on Twitter or join the Discord. Anything you want. 2020 is going to be our year. Stay cool and stay fleshy.